Let me check how you work this. Here we go. All right. Are we recording? All right. Thank you for being here. Welcome, everybody. And this is my annual State of the City. Last year I did it twice. This year maybe I only have to do it once. So I think I did it 3 times last year because you did it at the chamber too. So just to start it off, that no doubt this past year, we've had one of the most challenging times, and I know you guys are all aware of that, within our city, and one that I don't think we're going to forget anytime soon, probably not even in our lifetime. But one thing that I can tell you as mayor is that I had the privilege of seeing personally, with my own eyes, the resiliency that most of our citizens out there have in dealing with so many different crises. We not only dealt with crises on the national level with COVID, we dealt with crises on the state level with our power outage, we dealt at the city level with our water outage, and I can tell you that all of our citizens, everywhere I went, they came together. They were always willing to help our neighbors, help their neighbors, and that's why I'm proud. You know, as mayor, I'm always very optimistic, and I get my energy from our citizens. I'm always trying to engage with as many people as I can. And, you know, just to start you off, I can tell you that we definitely live in a great city. And if you don't believe that, then you need to get out more often, because I've lived in many different cities in California, in Chicago, south side of Chicago, and I can tell you that Killeen right now is one of the hottest cities in the whole state of Texas. And we have so many people wanting to live here. Right now, there is not too many places to live. There is a shortage of rentals. There is a shortage of homes to buy. And I only say that because that's just an indicator of how great our city is, because there's a lot of people wanting to call Killeen home. And as I converse with some of the people that are living or wanting to move to our city, I always get kind of the same response. They always say, you guys have a great city. That is the thing that people moving in here tell me. You guys have a great city. And I say, why is that? Why do we have, well, you know, first off, it's so diverse here. Second off, you have, you know, I had somebody the other day and say, I have a backyard. It's like, wow, that's great. Where'd you come from, New York? And so that was one of the great things that they really enjoyed, buying a house with a backyard and a garage. You know, it's like, I have a garage. But what we were really trying to say is that our cost of living is very affordable, even though we have a shortage. That has always been one of our biggest indicator. Our job growth is tremendous. We have a low unemployment rate here in the city of Killeen and throughout our region. We have a lot of things to do, but contrary to a lot of people may say differently, but we do. It's just that they don't engage enough. And I always say, if you don't find something to do, just give me a call. I'll be glad to point you in the right direction. But with all that said, let me go ahead and get started. First of all, I want to talk about our city leadership. This year, as some of you may recall, we had to move our election. Our normal election time was in May, and we had that moved till November because of COVID. So our election was delayed. But there were 3 council seats that were on the ballot, because last year we had an at-large election. But no problem, you know, even though our election was delayed, great things happen. You know, I always see challenges as opportunities. And what was the great opportunity? The great opportunity by moving that election till May wasn't a tragedy or anything like that. What happened was we had the highest turnout of citizens vote for a municipal election in the whole history of the city of Killeen. And with that, we had 3 new council members that joined us up on the dais. And so that was something good. You know, it was an amazing, you know, I ran unopposed, but I don't think a mayor has ever collected 31,000 votes in the history of Killeen. And so those were the good things that happened. Let's take a look at some of the other things that happened. You know, on a sad note, we lost one of our fellow council members and one of my former mayor pro tem, Jim Kilpatrick. He passed only a month after his wife passed away, so it was a sad funeral. He was a great council member. He really loved this community. And one of the things that I can tell you he really enjoyed was engaging with our veterans. He was a veteran himself, a Vietnam vet, but he really loved Killeen because it allowed him that opportunity on a daily basis to engage with people that were just like him. And he liked going out on Fort Hood. He was always making every retirement ceremony that happens once a month. He was there. So he will truly be missed. With that, we filled the seat that Mr. Kilpatrick left vacant. The council appointed Mr. Terry Clark, and he's filling that role in District 3 until the next election in May. Also, I want to mention about our staff and the city manager. You know, this year, our city manager completed his first full year as our city manager. And I'm here to tell you, I've seen the process. I've dealt with, I think he's my 5th city manager that I've had the privilege of getting to know. And I can tell you, he's probably the best. You know, he's brought in a lot of things to the city. He's brought that experience that he's brought from other cities. And he's came in firing all cylinders, and he is trying to make Killeen great using all that experience he has. And he's brought a team of him too, that people that know what they're doing. And so we're glad to have him here with us. And also, I just want to take a moment to recognize not only all the administrative staff that have worked, but all our public servants. Public servants really took a beating this past year with all the challenges that they have. Our police department, our fire department, our first responders and all that, we really commend them for the tremendous work that they've done in facing all of these different challenges that we as a city had to face. And it's nothing but kudos. I receive a lot of them. A good job to your police department, good job to your fire department for everything that they do. And I just want to make sure that I always pass that information because it doesn't just come from me, it comes from our citizens here. I'm going to skip that election because that's towards the end. Good things are happening. You know, our financial picture, I remember when I came in as mayor, the first thing that was thrown at me as mayor is we had an $8 million shortfall, budget shortfall. And it's like, wow, what are we going to do? The city's robbing money and all that. None of that happened. It was just, we were just short of money. We were just spending more than we could take in. So we had to make some cutbacks. And we look at today, and it's a whole different picture. And I mean, you look at the crisis that we've been in with COVID and all that, and look at that. Our sales tax revenue up 15% over last year. And our property tax, unfortunately, what does that mean to our citizens? It means that you'll probably end up paying more taxes. But property tax, your property values have increased, and they've increased like no time I've ever known. I've never seen property increases the way they have. Normally, we're lucky to see a 2 or 3%. If we got a 3%, that was a big celebration. And here we are at 10%, you know, and I don't think that's going to slow down because the demand is still there. So our financial picture is bright. The other thing is every year we do an audit. An external company comes in and manages and makes sure that we're doing what we're supposed to here. We got a clean audit this year. And that, again, goes kudos to our administrative staff, to our financial department, to our city manager. Right now, we're working on our current budget for FY21 is in develop, which is going to cover 21-22. And that's in the works. And, you know, we got a little bit more money than we did last year with the sale tax revenue up. But we'll start that process. Council will receive their first draft of it in July. And as every year we approve that, the council makes the approval in September. So by September, we have to have that budget approved. So. COVID. So during COVID, as I mentioned, you know, this is one of the major crises we will not soon forget. And we're still dealing with it. We have vaccinations going on right now. But obviously it had an impact on every service area throughout the city. It created limited enclosure capacities, safety procedures had to be implemented. We also had to postpone and cancel many of the events that we're normally used to. We also had to make up staff shortages, because a lot of people, if you came into the vicinity of somebody that had COVID or you were infected yourself, you had to stay home. And so that created staff shortages within not only our admin, but our police department, our fire department, our first responders that were out there in the front lines. But as a city, a lot of people assisted as best they could with the resources and the time that we had. We now turn our attention to assisting Bell County with the vaccination. We're just trying to get as many people vaccinated, and that's working really well. We're turning the tide around because our COVID numbers, people infected, we're seeing lower and lower numbers on that. So we hope to provide citizens with grants, and that's one of the good things that we were able to do this past year. The city and the council approved over $200,000 in utility bill assistance that was issued out to some of our citizens. We also were able to do $300,000 plus in rental assistance. So here's where the city stepped up, the council approved it, and the citizens took advantage of that. So we hoped, we're expecting about another $26 million, if you heard about that. We're all excited about that. The challenge is, how do we spend it? How do we spend the $26 million? It's going to probably be COVID related. So we're still waiting on the federal government to give direction on how we do that. As soon as that comes down, you'll be hearing more about that. But that's always a good thing. It's like I said, when I came in 8 years ago, it seems a long way when we were $8 million and we had a shortfall. So the winter storm that we all went through, this was a state crisis, trickled down to become a city challenge with the water. But again, this is one that we probably will not see in our lifetime. It was probably 30 plus years since one of these happened before. It had effect on essential services, starting with power, then water, and now with the roads. Roads are continuing to be repaired. We had to close our city offices during this, but it had a minimal impact. The city staff continued to do what they're supposed to do. This is another area, like I say, where citizens just stepped up. And they said, where can I help? Where can I help my neighbor? There was no shortage of heat, even though we had a cold storm. There was no shortage of water, and there was no shortage of food. We had centers set up. It was just getting those that needed out there, and we were able to do that. So our roads, we completed a recent road study a few months ago, and it was estimated that our current road conditions, we're looking at a price over $100 million. I think the exact price was about $120 million. And that's something that the council is going to have to tackle. This is something that within the next decade we're going to have to figure out how to pay for. On top of that, the winter storms added another $40 million to that road damage that we have. And so it's really about $160 million price tag that we're going to have to figure out how to pay for that. This new council is going to have to come up with solutions working with the city manager. The good thing is that the council did approve a $4.25 million for immediate repairs for roads that are really bad because of the winter ice storm that happened recently. And city staff are out there. If you can see them, they're out there patching, doing work as much as they can. It's going to take several months to get all those repairs work. And as soon as they finish, there's other roads that are going to need repairs. So this is going to be an ongoing situation that can take, several years. It's just never going to finish because once you fix one, another one is going to break. So. All right, public safety. We're excited. Had a lot of good things happening here in public safety this year. City manager with the council with the approval of the council, hired a new fire chief to lead our great fire department, Chief Jim Kubinski. He started February 1st. He came from the Chicago area, and he was only here about 2 weeks before he was put to the test with that big fire that we had in one of our major hotels. And I was out there on the ground watching them work, and I can tell you, city manager did an excellent job in hiring Chief Kabinski here. And he's doing a good job. He's well liked by the department, so I think he'll do great things. We're just glad to have him here. Both the fire and police have had to work around COVID because many of the, like I said earlier, have tested positive. Many of them have been in close proximity to somebody that had either been tested or was around somebody that had tested, so they were required to stay home. One good thing that our KPD did this year is, among many, not just that one thing, they're always doing great things, but one good thing is they obtained the CALIA. I hope I'm saying that right, CALIA. That's for Commissions on Accreditation of Law Enforcement Agency. And what this accreditation is, it creates higher standards in law enforcement. And there's only about 1,000 police departments throughout the nation that have ever achieved that. So that's something that we're really proud of our KPD for achieving this standard and meeting the national, because it comes from the national, and meeting that high standards that's created by the National Performance Standards. Also, speaking of KPD, they continue their outreach program to address not only issues that we're dealing with locally, but one of the good things that they've done, and we all see the news, about what's going on with police departments, but one of the great things about our police department is they continue to receive support and praise from a lot of our leaders and a lot of our citizens, contrary to what you see on the news media. And so they're very supportive, and they've been handling not only local issues, but national issues. They've been working with citizens, they've been engaging and working with our media. So, our quality of life, very important. That's something that the City Council, our leadership here, always is trying to improve the quality of life. We're always looking to make sure that we provide that great quality of life that our citizens rightly deserve. And so one of the things that is part of that quality of life is our Parks Master Plan. It's a guide, and we've seen a lot of citizens engagement. They've been out there getting citizen input, and this is a guide for the next 5 to 10 years. And it not only includes parks, but it also includes the different programs that our citizens would like to see within the parks, for our youth, for our citizens, for our region. And so it's very important that we continue to engage. If you're a citizen out there and you want to have input, be part of that process. Another thing that we saw open up this past year was our Heritage Oaks hike and bike trail. That was off Rosewood. And I can tell you, I've been out there several times, and it has been enjoyed by a lot of trailblazers. I mean, there is people out there that walk and run. So it's a beautiful trail. And so that's one thing that we hope to continue to see, to expand more trails like that, because I think that that's one of the things that we as a city really need, is we need more walking areas, make it a more walkable city. And that's part of what we're going to get into as we discuss our comp plan. Another big project that's been in the works and approved by City Council is our Bob Gilmore Center. And our Bob Gilmore Center, which currently it's in the design phase, that's an amazing project. It's a beautiful building, and it's going to be shared space between our seniors. One half will have our seniors, another half will be our youths, but it's going to be an expansion of our current building that we have, and we're looking forward to that. Hopefully we'll get started on that this coming year after the design phase. Our airport, obviously nationwide, airports took a beating. Deplanements have been down tremendously, and so our airport was no different. Our airport got hit hard by what happened with COVID. Emplanements, which have been on an upward trend in our airport, they dropped over 40% here in the Killeen Fort Hood Regional Airport. Right now, they're starting to pick up again, which is a good thing. But one of the great things is that we were able to obtain, the staff out there at the airport did an amazing job getting some of these grants that were available through the FAA and CARES Act. And that allowed us to offset a lot of the declining revenue that we saw in the airport. And so one of the great things that happened during COVID in the airport too is we were able to to begin a corporate hangar, and we were able to recruit a company out there called CSI, and they do private charter planes. And so hopefully we're going to take that, and that's a seed, but we're going to expand that. They're here working right now, and hopefully we'll be able to expand that to make it a headquarters here in our airport. But we were able to do that using some of that airport funding that we got, and hopefully we'll see more. The other thing that happened in the airport is we got a new food and beverage company that's out there. They specialize in airports so that when you're there waiting for a plane, it's not going to be where once you pass the security checkpoint, you can't get anything. You'll be able to get some of your, food and all that vendors that they provide. So they're experts at doing that, and we're glad that we were able to sign a contract with them. And then the last thing on the airport is, when it comes to new business development, is we're trying to get assistance for a new route, and that's something that's ongoing. Our target area is going to the west, maybe the West Coast. Hopefully we can start at the Denver area, and that's something that our airport staff is working hard, and hopefully we'll see some benefits out of that. So this is something big, our comprehensive plan. This is a plan that it's our future. It's within the next 10 or 20 years, and you've seen a lot of talk with this. There's citizen engagements in this. The council spent a whole day a couple of weeks ago engaging with the company that's managing it, Verdunity. And so this is big. This is a guide. This is a plan of what our citizens, what they want the city to look like for the next 10 or 20 years. So it's very important that we engage our citizens as much as possible. We had our kickoff on this back in March. Right now they are in the research phase. And so once they put all of that together, they'll come back before the city council and start the process of laying it all out and making the adjustments as needed. But I think that we're all excited about this, and it has effects not only in our parks, but our downtown area, economic development, our streets. I mean, there is so much that is part of that. So it's very important. I mean, it's very important to have a plan as how you want the city to grow. Okay, my thing is a little bit slow. Hot topics. These are things that we are working on. The council is working on these things right now. You'll see more of this as time progresses. But one of the things is impact fees. Council is looking into charging new development with impact fees. What this is for, and I want to make sure everybody understands, because I think that I've had several questions on this, but I want to make sure everybody understands this is not for citizens that currently live in our city. This is for new development. So if you are doing a new development, you're going to pay, depending on how many homes, how many lots you have there. It's going to range for water. If you have a regular 3/4-inch line, you're looking at about $1,161. Wastewater is about $418. So the total that a developer or a builder is going to pay is about $1,579 for a regular 3/4 line. So again, I just want to emphasize that this is for new development. This fee that we collect will be used to either finance or recoup the cost of any capital improvement projects within that area. You cannot use it for older areas or nothing like that, so it has to be used for that new area that has been developed. So we can use it for road expansions, the widening, or anything that's being built in that, street lights, anything that's going on in that area. We do have a public hearing on this adoption of the impact fees next week, which is the 13th. And after the public hearing, it'll be up to the council to decide whether they vote on this or not, because vote on it in the affirmative or negative, but it will be coming up for a vote next week. The other thing is our homelessness. The city started an outreach program in 2018. And what we're doing is currently, that outreach program has been working, just engaging with some of these homelessness. Right now, we're taking it up a little bit. We're looking at a regional approach to tap into the more regional regional sources and partners, within the county. We're looking at talking with other cities like Temple so that we can work together, minimize the cost, and figure out, how we can solve this problem. I don't think it's ever going to be solved, but it's something that we can bring down to a minimal. And so we're going to do our best to try to ensure that we help the people that are in the need. And if we can train them, retrain them, help them get jobs or whatever, that's the way to go. And so that is part of a homeless strategic plan that we're looking to develop. The other thing is our Mounted Warfare Museum. That's been going on for about 10 years. I was on that process when it started about 10 years ago. So I've had the privilege of seeing it from day one. It's had its ups and downs. We didn't think that we would make it to this area. But right now, if you go down outside the main gate, you'll see construction going on. And so it is very exciting to see that dome that's being put on right now. I think it's already there. But when this project is completed sometime towards October of this year, the building itself will be finished in October. The ribbon cutting will probably be sometime next year, because once the building is completed, you have to fill it up. You have to put in all the artifacts and everything that goes inside it. But we're expecting about 265 visitors a year that are going to visit that museum. So that's a big thing for our area. And a lot of them, majority of them, are going to be from outside this city. There was one other thing. She didn't put it on my slide, but one other thing that I wanted to kind of mention. This was recently approved by the City Council. This is the Public Facility Corporation. And this is big. We've always trying to figure out how we can improve the north side. When I say north side, it's north of 190. And this is as close as north to W.S. Young you can get. It's not too far from our downtown area. But the way you can improve that is by putting more feet on the ground over there. The only way you're going to do that is by putting more apartments, either building more houses, which you can't because it's already built. We got our older area. But if we want to attract more businesses, what business need is more people to come and visit them. And the only way you do it, any city does it, is by putting more people in that area. Because a lot of times, people are not going to travel too far to go to a certain place. That's why people go here at the highway. So what we want to do is kind of move people in that area so that we can help improve the businesses that are down there. And I think it'll have a trickle effect. You'll see our downtown get a much-needed improvement. The great thing about this project, one of the things that I love personally, it cost about $51 million to build this apartment complex, about 360 apartments. And the city, it didn't cost us 1 cent. It did not cost us 1 cent. On the closing, the day of closing, which is about 3 years in the making, we will receive about a check for about $350,000, and then thereafter we'll probably get about $100,000 a year after that. So there is some revenue, but if it does have the trickle effect, then it will pay for itself over time. Election. Here's where I want to talk about election. We have an election coming up May 1st. Now, this election is district election. Everybody's aware we have 4 districts. We have a good slate of candidates. Normally, a lot of times we get some areas that don't even have competition. But this year, every district has a competitor in there. So people are going to have to work to get elected. But May 1st, which is the first Saturday of the month, we're back to normal. We moved it last year to November. We're coming back to May 1st, which is the first Saturday of May. Early vote starts April 19th through the 27th, and all 4 district seats are up. So you got 1, 2, 3, and 4. So get out and vote. Hopefully, we'll see a big turnout. Normally, districts, we don't get a lot of people turn out. I would say, 500 people come out during the district. So we hope that, we can get a lot more of that. I don't think it's going to be like the November election because that was a presidential election. But if we can get a couple of thousand, that would be great. All right. In closing, I just want to say that, we faced a lot of challenges. And I'm sure we're going to face a lot more. You know, you wouldn't need a staff, you wouldn't need a council if there was no challenges. So we're continue to face. But again, when somebody says, you know, I don't like this and I don't like that, my response is always like, well, what are you doing about it? And a lot of times, you know, I am there. I will put my arm around you and let's say, let's do this together. But if you don't like what's happening, well, do something about it. You know, we have a lot of committees. Be part of the process. Don't be part of the problem, I always say. And there is a lot to be grateful for. I am an outsider. I meet a lot of people that were born and grew up in Killeen, and I'm always reminding them what a great city they have. Because I've lived in so many areas, and I get to travel a lot, and I still do that, and I'm always here coming back and I say, wow, you know, I will never take this for granted. What a great city that we have. So civic pride is very important. You got to have that civic pride, and that's one thing that can be shared. And so I encourage everybody to be an ambassador to the great city that you have. We have tremendous citizens. You can see that every day. You know, we have a community of servants. I've been to, as mayor, I get the honor of attending many, many funerals. And every time I see a funeral, I just reflect on the many things that that person did in a community. And they are able to share how they were part of the process. You know, just about everybody that I go to, it's because I've known them, because they've served in some capacity within the city and made a difference. So I encourage you to be part of that. You know, we all, you know, want to be remembered in that way, but, you know, be part of the solution, not part of the problem. So with that, God bless you and have a great year. All right. That's it.